So, after the repeal of the Stamp Act in 1766 and after the Declaratory Act of 1766, which basically says the empire is in charge and has the complete authority to tax and rule as they wish. Um, in 1767, a second large revenue act was passed. It was called the Townshend Duties or the Townshend Acts. It placed small customs on duty or small custom duties on glass, tea, milk, indigo, and many other items. Um, this was going to again be used to raise income or revenue for the crown. It was another way to get at the colonists and to show them that they will be responsible. They will play a part in paying for the maintenance of the colonies and the maintenance of the empire. Um, it will actually have an effect on British manufacturing as well because they are indeed being taxed on exports as well. So, an effect on the British manufacturing. Um, and overall, I would say the one of the major effects of the Townsend duties, it shifts that all the money that's being raised from the duties, from the taxes, will now be used to pay for the colonial governors, which before that, the colonial assemblies paid the salaries of the royal governors, and that's the way the governors could be kept in check by the colonies, by the colonial assemblies. Now that that is being taken away from the colonial assemblies, the governors really don't have to answer to the assemblies at all and will assert complete control over the colonies. That is a very damaging aspect of the Townsend duties of 1767. Yeah, go ahead, buddy. See ya. So it was a major objection to the Revenue Act. So in response to that, we start to see some colonials circulating letters, essays in response to the Townsend duty, saying that Parliament does not have the right to levy taxes. Our John Dickinson penned his famous letters from a Pennsylvania farmer, which again, he's not even from Pennsylvania, and he's not even a farmer. But again, it's stating that these acts are indeed unconstitutional, and it's starting to get the momentum going. We're into the 1770s, where obviously we see the revolution, fast forward to more aggressive and violent actions. So, not only did the Revenue Act of 1767 create the intellectuals to protest, such as the letters, but also affects, from another social standpoint, women they created an organization called the Daughters of Liberty, or the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they pushed for the homespun cloth, making their own clothes rather than importing British cloth, British textiles, and so it's going to help spur the American clothing industry, and also push for the non-consumption of British tea, since probably tea was the most volatile of all the taxes that was on from the Townsend duties. Next big major event takes place in 1770, March 5th to be exact. The city is Boston, and we had talked about this in class, the Boston Massacre, where a crowd of colonists were fired upon by British soldiers. However, the soldiers, we do know, were provoked. They weren't innocent, like in that picture by Paul Revere. And the protesters were, of course, were protesting the presence of the soldiers, the custom houses themselves, which collect the taxes, and of course the legislation to begin with. As a result, the colonists were fired upon by the soldiers, and this kind of starts, of course, the notion that the colonists indeed are under tyrannical rule, and more action needs to be taken. So in 1772, the Committees of Correspondence, which is organized by Sam Adams, his main intention, we talked about this in class, it's a social networking, a way to kind of help the the opposition in Great Britain stay alive. It's also a way to kind of unite New England with the South, with the frontier, with the coast, and so the Committee of Correspondence is going to kind of keep the movement going until hopefully legislation by Britain can be taken away, and of course the colonials can get what they always wanted, which of course is representation. The Tea Act of 1773 was primarily designed to help Great Britain get a monopoly to the British East India Tea Company, and the colonials objected to this Tea Act in a pretty aggressive and violent manner. Let's take a look at what the colonists decide to do.
Can you believe this Tea Act? I know. They are forcing us to buy their tea and make a monopoly. Let's teach them a lesson. Yeah! Let's dump their tea into the Boston Harbor. Yeah! Can we just like Indians? Yeah! Yeah! Cheers, cheers. Where's the tea? Where's the tea? Here it is, dear Adams. Take that, England!
Wow, was that something? Did you see those Indians attack that tea? Oh, mercy. I don't know what's becoming of these colonists, but I tell you what, that Boston Tea Party was not the first time that we've seen violence. Let's go back to Bacon's Rebellion, 1676 in Virginia. We have the Paxton Boys in Pennsylvania at the beginning of the decade of the 1760s, going after peaceful Indians because they didn't. They felt that the Pennsylvania government was not protecting them, so they're going out slaughtering and killing Indians in Pennsylvania. We have the regulator movement in South Carolina by the colonials when their demands are being met by the South Carolinian government, or really the British government. It was a royal colony by then. So take the Boston Tea Party, regulators, Paxton Boys, the Gaspee burning. That was the ship, the Gaspee, typical British ship that's patrolling the coast, trying to crack down on smugglers. Don't try to stop Americans from smuggling, all right? It's what we do. That's how we make our money. Well, this British ship, the Gaspee, ran aground. How that happens, I have no idea. But the Americans, the colonists, I should say, really took advantage of it. And what do? Did they say, hey, British patrol shipmen that are stranded, and they're going to come to my house for dinner? No, they didn't say that at all. They actually set the boat on fire, and they burned it, torched it. Again, we are sending England a message. You don't want to mess with us. Understand? We will cut you. All right? So it's clearly evident that by 1774, we've kind of reached that point of no return. All right? We've crossed the Rubicon. And in 1774, the coercive acts are passed by Great Britain to punish Boston for the Tea Party. So, coercive acts. We talked about this in class. It stops. It closes the port of Boston. It takes away. Hold on, Joe. Joe, come here and say hi. Just say hi to everyone. Just wave. Okay. I'll be right there. So.
No, I want you to. I want to watch a movie.
Okay, hold on. Can I say goodbye real quick?
No, can I play a game?
I don't know what that means. Hold on. Can you give me 1 minute? So the coercive acts close the port of Boston, so it's crippling their economy. All right. It also takes away their charter, and what does that mean? No more the ability to run themselves. It imposes military rule in the colonies. In Boston. Please, Joseph. Thank you. Okay, great. And it imposes military rule in Boston, and Great Britain basically hold on, Joe, I'm almost there. And Great Britain then plays a major card called the Quebec Act, which again we talked about in class. It gave French Catholics the right to the freedom to practice a religion, oppression free. So the coercive acts take away English liberty as an Englishman, but yet the Quebec Act grants rights to French Canadians, and it gives them extensive use in the Ohio Valley for fur trading. And I believe at this point the colonists are saying that, all right, we need to have another plan, and that plan is going to be the First Continental Congress. So in 1774, the First Continental Congress was created, and they wanted to create liberty in the colonies, not independence. So they met in Virginia, House of Burgesses, and the First Continental Congress, they're going to denounce all British policies. They're going to advocate for the formation of a military, and they're going to urge all suspension with trade from Great Britain. And so the creation of the Continental Association was basically to create a boycott of all British goods, and so they compiled a list. So 1774, they're not stressing independence, but they recognize there's a need for a unified association, and so the First Continental Congress addressed from a unified standpoint, or the 13 colonies, the major aspects of, look, we need to stick together in order for us to get what we want, but we're not stressing independence. Declaration of American Rights or Grievances was created, which basically fought it demanded the repeal of all British legislation passed since 1763. It states that it's denying Parliament has any authority at all in colonial affairs. It's basically saying, again, the no taxation without representation. And so they're listing the rights and their grievances, and they're giving them basically to Parliament and saying, look, you have no right in our affairs. We can control ourselves. And the British kind of respond with the ordering their troops in Massachusetts really to seize a stockpile of weapons in Concord, Massachusetts. And obviously in April 1775, the militia or the Minutemen of the colonies of Massachusetts met the British troops and kind of had a little dust up, little skirmish, if you would, and the first fighting of the war is underway. This, of course, dictates in May of 1775, a month later, the Second Continental Congress was created, which is basically establishing a Continental Army, and it's going to be led by George Washington, he went about 6'2". He looked good, looked real good on a horse, strapping man, shoulders, a big man from Virginia. He had the ability to lead. He had experience. He was a military man back in the French and Indian War, and he said, "Look, fellas, jump on this back. I'll ride you to victory. All right, so or you can ride me to victory." And so Washington accepts the role of the general of the Continental Army, and it looks pretty inevitable that the British and the colonists are going to come to blows. However, they did offer an olive branch petition to the king, saying, "Look, we are willing to go back to where everything was," and offering some reconciliation. And KG3 said, "No, you all are going to be denogonized. All right, blows must decide, and the American Revolutionary War is now underway."